Have you ever felt like the world is just accelerating? That the information you just learned is already out of date, or maybe that preparing for the future feels like trying to hit a moving target, in the dark?
Yeah, it's a really common feeling these days.
It absolutely is. And it's why we're taking a deep dive today into how education is, well, wrestling with this new reality. We're specifically looking at how international business education is trying to adapt to what one author calls the age of disruption.
Right.
Our guide for this is a really insightful article by Vanessa C. Hasse from Ivy Business School, published in a top academic journal, and it proposes a genuinely innovative way to think about teaching these days.
And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is how these specific educational challenges, they aren't just stuck in business schools, not at all. They actually reflect these broader shifts in how all of us really need to understand and process and apply knowledge today.
Okay, so what's our mission here then?
Well, our mission is pretty much to unpack what this age of disruption actually means for learning, maybe pinpoint where the traditional methods are falling short, and then introduce you to this innovative framework. They call it the FIRE mindset.
The FIRE mindset. Okay.
Yeah, and the idea is it aims to equip learners like you to, thrive when things feel so uncertain. Doesn't matter what field you're in.
Okay, so let's unpack this age of disruption first. What is it, really? And
Right.
why does it challenge how we learn so fundamentally?
Well, the article basically says it's characterized by an increasing frequency of rare but impactful events.
Right. Like what?
Well, think about the COVID-19 pandemic, obviously, or the escalating climate-related disasters we keep seeing, or even the really rapid, sometimes kind of dizzying rise of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it feels constant.
It does. But critically, these aren't just, isolated things happening. The article argues they're fueled by this heightened interconnectivity across pretty much all human activity.
And the consequence of all that.
A significant erosion of what we once thought was, certain solid ground.
So, new information.
Yeah.
It's easy to create, but it expires fast.
Exactly. And it's often contested, it's fragmented, it's super contextual. Or sometimes the information you need just, it isn't there yet. It's a genuinely bewildering landscape for anyone just trying to keep up.
It really is.
Absolutely. And look, this isn't just theory. There was a recent global survey this year by Alex Partners. They talked to 3,100 large companies. Get this. 65% of CEOs said they felt highly disrupted in the past year.
Wow, 65%.
Yeah. And 58% worried they were actually falling behind the knowledge and skill curve.
So if these global leaders, with all their resources, feel that way, imagine the challenge for learners, right? People just trying to get started or understand a new field.
That's it, exactly. This pervasive uncertainty, as the article really highlights, it poses these deep pedagogical conundrums for educators. Big questions.
That's a really powerful point. If the people at the top feel this pressure, it forces us to ask, how do our educational systems respond? Especially when the ground beneath our feet feels like it's constantly shifting. What are these core challenges educators are wrestling with?
So the article identifies 4 key pedagogical conundrums, big challenges for teaching. First, how do you prepare decision makers for events that haven't even materialized yet?
Right. How do you do that?
Well, past insights become kind of irrelevant, and future predictions are often inaccurate because there's just so much more randomness involved now.
Okay, what's the second one?
Second, how do you facilitate learning when information evolves non-linearly? We're talking like exponential growth or these time-delayed cascades of effects. It just curtails the whole idea of knowledge consolidation.
You barely have time to process it before it changes again.
Pretty much. Then third, with everything being so interconnected, these disruptive events create systemic complexity. It just spills over traditional boundaries, department silos and things like that.
So how do educators cover that? These sort of knock-on effects.
Yeah, these power law effects where small things can trigger huge consequences and these boundary-spanning impacts. How do you fit that into a typical curriculum? It's tough.
And the last one.
And finally, how do we convey insights about these non-linear rare events when, frankly, humans aren't really wired to grasp them intuitively? We tend to underestimate exponential growth, right? And our own inbuilt biases can really impede our understanding of just how rare or contextual something is.
It sounds like our brains are still running on dial-up in a fiber optic world.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
So, if our usual ways of thinking are struggling, where do we even start to build new ones? For decades, we've had frameworks like Bloom's taxonomy guiding how we approach learning.
Sure, most people know Bloom's.
Yeah, remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, create.
Yeah.
those levels. And it organizes knowledge, factual, conceptual, procedural, metacognitive. It's a brilliant framework, really.
Yeah.
But the critical point here, I suppose, is its underlying assumption that knowledge is stable, something you could accumulate and consolidate.
Like filling a vessel.
Exactly, like filling a vessel with existing, sturdy information.
Right. But the dynamic complexities of these disruptive times, they fundamentally challenge that assumption of stable, accumulable knowledge. So the article proposes this new framework. It's a matrix, actually.
Okay.
It expands on Bloom's by considering the dynamism of the knowledge environment itself. It asks, is the knowledge accumulable basically stable, or is it ephemeral, meaning disruptive?
Okay, stable versus disruptive.
Yeah. And then it overlays that with whether the learning approach is passive or active.
Got it. So that gives you 4 possibilities.
Exactly. 4 distinct learning outcomes. So bottom left, you've got knowledge reception. That's passive learning in a stable, accumulative context. Your traditional sage on the stage, memorizing facts.
Which feels less effective now.
Increasingly so, yeah. Then knowledge mastery. That's active learning, still in an accumulative context, using case studies, simulations, things like that. It's effective, sure, but it still kind of assumes the knowledge itself is stable and you can consolidate it.
Okay, so those 2 quadrants still feel like they're rooted in that stable knowledge idea. But what happens when knowledge isn't stable, when it's ephemeral?
Well, that's where the other 2 come in. In the bottom right, we get the worst case scenario, knowledge dissipation. This is passive learning when knowledge is ephemeral, changing all the time.
So what does that look like?
Information is uncertain. Maybe it's easily outsourced to AI without any real understanding behind it. It can lead to misinformation, a total lack of agency, just confusion, really.
Yikes. Okay, so where do we want to be?
We absolutely need to be in the top right quadrant, according to this framework. That's knowledge co-creation.
Knowledge co-creation. Active learning, ephemeral context.
Exactly. And this quadrant emphasizes cultivating procedural knowledge, knowing how to do things, the methods, the skills, and metacognitive knowledge,
Which
is about understanding how you learn and think, your own cognitive processes, your biases, how you approach problems. And this is fostered through highly networked learning, connecting ideas and people. That's where the article argues real learning sparks.
That idea of sparking rather than just filling. That really resonates. It makes me think of Plutarch, the Greek philosopher. He said something like, the mind is not a vessel to be filled, but wood that needs igniting.
Motivating one towards originality and a desire for truth.
Yeah, it's a fantastic quote.
It really captures the essence of this knowledge co-creation idea, doesn't it? It's not about downloading facts. It's about igniting that internal drive.
Exactly. And the article calls this whole pedagogical approach the FIRE mindset.
Ah, right, the FIRE mindset. And FIRE is an acronym.
It is, quite cleverly. It stands for Future Ready Teaching About Impactful Rare Events.
Okay, FIRE. Got it. So this FIRE mindset, it's guided by 6 principles, grouped under 3 sort of metaphorical elements: spark, stoke, and sustain.
Spark, stoke, sustain, like building a fire.
Precisely. The whole approach prioritizes those higher order thinking skills and that metacognitive knowledge we mentioned. It doesn't mean basic knowledge isn't important anymore, not at all. But it leverages these higher dimensions to provide some stability when everything else feels uncertain.
And the article gives an example.
Yeah, it illustrates these principles with the specific course design, a graduate-level elective focused on lower-income markets.
Why lower-income markets?
Because they often face greater uncertainty and tend to be more heavily impacted by these rare events. So it's a really good testbed for this approach.
Okay, makes sense. Let's dive into these elements then, starting with spark, igniting curiosity and critical thinking. What's the first principle for lighting that fire?
Okay, principle 1 is all about fostering curiosity through safe experimentation and, interestingly, multisensorial engagement.
Multisensorial.
Well, the idea is to present intentionally perplexing dilemmas related to rare events. Things like case conundrums, ranking exercises, maybe polling activities, or evidence-based paradoxes that really challenge people's assumptions. The goal is to uncover biases and engage more than just, abstract thought.
So less lecture, more puzzle.
Kind of. For example, in that course design, each session started with one of these perplexing dilemmas, specifically to spark curiosity before the academic discussion even began. It hooks the learners immediately.
So it's about making them want to know, rather than just telling them what they need to know. Which leads naturally, I guess, to principle 2, cultivating critical thinking by elevating information and bias literacy.
Exactly. In these fast-changing, ephemeral contexts, being able to discern information quality is just crucial.
And understanding your own biases, too.
Absolutely. Learners reflect on what they don't know and learn to ask better questions. The example course actually uses Hans Rosling's book, Factfulness.
Oh, yeah, great book.
Isn't it? It frames knowledge through these 10 instincts, which are essentially common biases. And this isn't just, an academic exercise. It helps students understand their own mental shortcuts and how those shortcuts influence strategic decisions, especially when misinformation can spread so quickly and have real consequences.
That's powerful, really understanding your own brain's blind spots.
Mhm.
Okay, so moving on to the next element, Stoke, which is about embracing complexity in ethics. What's principle 3?
Principle 3 is about embracing ambiguity, complexity, and something the article calls politely.
Politely. Haven't got that one.
It just means the simultaneous presence of multiple, often conflicting goals. Think about a business trying to maximize profit while also prioritizing sustainability and social impact. Those goals can definitely clash sometimes.
Right. So how do you teach that?
It involves using really carefully curated materials and discussions to push students beyond conventional silos, to see the messy connections.
And how did the course example do that?
It used a really rich mix of things. Teaching cases, research papers, formal debates, Socratic dialogues, and it brought in diverse guest speakers, like an expert on subsistence markets, a member of the military, a retired ambassador, people with very different perspectives.
So getting them comfortable with not having easy answers.
Exactly. Students were encouraged to value accuracy over just feeling certain, and to even feel comfortable saying, I don't know, which, is a huge shift from the usual expectation of always having the right answer.
I can imagine that takes real courage, actually, and intellectual humility.
Yeah.
Okay, then principle 4, under Stoke, emphasizes reflecting on moral imperatives and ethical considerations.
Yeah, and in these disruptive times where decisions can have these far-reaching, often unforeseen consequences, the need for ethical reflection just gets amplified, doesn't it?
Definitely.
And that includes thinking about the ethics of not acting, too. Doing nothing is also a choice with consequences.
So how did the course handle that? Ethics can be tricky territory.
The key was fostering a really safe learning environment for these discussions, encouraging students to genuinely take on different perspectives, maybe through stakeholder analysis exercises or formal debates, and to really consider the nuanced implications of decisions, rather than just looking for a single right or wrong answer.
Okay, that makes sense. So, Spark, Stoke, finally, we get to sustain, empowering discovery and global awareness. Principle 5 is about empowering autonomous answer discovery.
Right. The article argues that the motivation to learn has to be anchored within the learner themselves, especially when information is constantly updating. You can't just rely on external inputs forever.
So, less spoon-feeding.
Pretty much. It means shifting from purely deductive approaches, just getting facts and frameworks handed to you, towards more inductive methods.
And how does that play out in practice?
Well, students might be presented with questions or problems, and then they're empowered to discover answers more autonomously, maybe collaboratively, using their critical thinking skills, maybe using publicly available data sets. It's about giving them the tools and the confidence to find solutions themselves.
Building that intellectual self-reliance.
Exactly, which leads nicely into Principle 6, the last one, elevating cross-links and fostering global awareness.
So connecting the dots.
Connecting the dots and connecting the people. This idea of empowered co-creation of knowledge is really fundamental here. Your individual knowledge gets complemented by networked knowledge drawing on others across different disciplines, and that naturally fosters a more global awareness.
And the example course reflected this.
Oh, yeah. It featured highly interactive, cross-disciplinary activities, Socratic dialogues, small group tasks, experiential exercises, things that explicitly required collaboration.
And the results. Did it work?
Well, according to the article, the results have been overwhelmingly positive. They mentioned student comments like, completely changed my perspective of the world, or positively changed my mindset. And the approach has led to teaching excellence awards and nominations.
Wow.
Yeah, that kind of impact, it really speaks volumes, I think.
Those results are incredibly encouraging. It really sounds like this fire mindset approach is exactly what's needed right now. But what about the practical realities? Implementing this in broader educational contexts, it sounds amazing, but maybe incredibly challenging in, say, a large university setting or even in corporate training.
Yeah, you're hitting on a critical point there. implementing something like this definitely faces what the article calls academic realities.
Like what?
Well, things like large class sizes, which often push instructors back towards traditional lectures just for manageability. There are resource constraints. Some active learning materials can be costly. And, cultural differences. Some educational cultures are less student-centric and might find these highly interactive approaches a bit challenging to adopt.
So it's not a magic wand you can just wave everywhere.
Definitely not. It's not a silver bullet solution that instantly works everywhere, no.
But there's a hopeful angle too, right? The article mentioned that many active learning methods are actually pretty low cost.
That's true.
You don't necessarily need to redesign an entire course overnight.
Yeah.
Maybe even just one session using some of these principles could spark that curiosity and make a real difference.
Absolutely. Small steps can have a big impact.
Plus, the author launched the RARE initiative, right? The RareEventsLab.com, a free repository of research and teaching materials specifically for this age of disruption.
That's right. It's a fantastic resource.
And there are other initiatives too, like Ivy Business School's 39-Country Initiative, providing free cases and materials to lower-income countries. That directly tackles some of those resource inequalities. So the tools are starting to become available.
Indeed they are. And, we also need to think about the role of AI in all this.
Yes. The elephant in the room.
It really is. AI itself is an unknowns-producing technology, isn't it? It changes the game constantly. Now, while it can definitely help with knowledge co-creation, there's also this temptation.
Temptation.
Yeah, a temptation for both learners and educators to kind of oversimplify the learning process, like, condensing really nuanced, complex text into a simple infographic just because AI can do it quickly.
Losing the depth.
Exactly. It risks turning learning into this kind of sleek product that lacks real substance. The article really emphasizes that it's through the persistent wrestling with complex issues that we truly grow, which makes encouraging this empowered, critical, globally aware fire mindset even more crucial.
That's a profound point, and maybe a slightly sobering one. True learning isn't always the easiest path, is it?
Oh.
Especially with AI offering those instant, sometimes superficial answers.
It's a challenge we need to be mindful of.
This whole approach, it connects back to something much older, doesn't it? Aristotle's concept of paideia.
Paideia, the education of the whole person.
It's exactly. Knowing, doing, and being. This kind of cross-disciplinary thinking seems vital now because, as we've discussed, these disruptive events, they don't respect boundaries. They span economic, social, environmental concerns.
Right. We need to think beyond the old silos and develop as whole, adaptable individuals.
So, wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, the listener? This deep dive has really shown us, I think, that this age of disruption demands a pretty fundamental shift in how we approach learning. And this FIRE mindset, it offers a powerful way forward, cultivating curiosity, critical thinking, co-creation, moving us beyond just accumulating facts towards being genuinely prepared and agile when things keep changing.
It's about lighting that internal flame, isn't it? Rather than just filling the vessel.
Exactly.
And maybe here's a final thought to carry with you. Remember that PwC survey from 2019? It revealed only 11% of organizations had rigorous crisis response plans. That was just before a global pandemic hit.
Oof.
The article reminds us, pretty starkly, that disruptive events don't really care if we're prepared for them or not. But we, as learners, as educators, as citizens, we should care. So the question becomes, how will you ignite your own FIRE mindset in navigating this ever-changing landscape of knowledge?